We are often guilty of letting all five senses dictate our reality. I see this, I heard that, makes up this whole bunch of chaos because we're so used to ignoring our sixth sense, which is your sixth chakra. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Right here.
Right between your eyebrows. And
Right.
this is why they call it the sixth sense, because it's related to your sixth chakra, where you're tapping into that inner knowing. You're open to more than just what you see and hear, and all the other five senses are telling you. It's a very, very limited place that we've learned to exist from.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
go
it,
ahead.
it deals with intuition. It deals with concentration, spiritual perception, universal connection. You name it. That's. You know, when we talk about it being when we need to listen to our gut feeling. That's actually our gut right here. That's the gut feeling. That's where it comes from. So yeah, you want to keep that in check.
So this is where you're sifting through life, trying to figure out what's illusion and what is truth. Usually, like I said, we go with the five senses, and that is truth, and that's it. And then, but you always have that gut feeling, that inner knowing that, yeah, something's just off. Something's not quite right. Like, I don't like that person. You don't know why. You don't even have to know why. That's just your intellect shining through from a higher place because you're tapped in. So when that's aligned, you're more easily able to say, that's truth, that's illusion, that's my truth. So why do we ignore that sixth sense? This is because this is the place of self-evaluation. And oftentimes we don't like to look at ourselves. We don't like to call bullshit on ourselves. It's much, much easier to judge and call bullshit on everything and everybody else. So this is your person who you're like, this is me. You're always looking so deep into everything. You're always looking at the spiritual aspect. Not everything is spiritual, Tara. Not everything is spiritual, but everything has meaning, and we apply that meaning to it. So you're applying the general run-of-the-mill, socially acceptable meaning to it, or are you aligning with something that really means something to you, that moves your dial, that moves you closer to your dreams? How are you choosing that?
That's a
That's a whole lot I just said there.
yeah. That's a lot to unpack.
So are you taking time to self-reflect? Are you taking time to look, like, if you do get that feeling, are you pausing or taking, even if it's after the fact, like, I had that just something just didn't add up for me, and sitting with that and not just being logical about it.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's we tend to use the five other senses versus this one as much as
We're
the
taught
other.
that that's reality.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff is hocus pocus. Because the magic of really winning at this life is to have that third eye open and all the other chakras aligned at the same time so that you can really, like, see life. That's why it's third eye. So you can see what's the truth of what's really going on around you instead of what you're trying to be patterned into, taught into, the box you're being shoved into.
And that's truly a magical place to be. I mean, that's
Completely.
that's the most authentic part of who we are. It is connected to the most highest vibration. It is connected to our sovereignty. Is connected to all the parts of us that we tend to ignore on a day to day, and constantly looking to create from them, even though we're ignoring them.
Right.
So having that open and balance, just like the other chakras, is so important for us to do and be aware of. Specifically this one, because this one deals with the intuition,
Right.
and our gut feeling and all those things, and we don't trust that a lot of the times. It's unfortunate, and we should trust it because that information is coming from our truth, if you
Right.
will.
And that's where you get the saying, like, I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, I heard him say that. Like, these solid things with those five senses. And that's the sad part because, like, you don't think about, oh my God, am I going to be able to take my next breath most of the time?
Right.
But you just trust that there's air there, that it's just going to happen. Like, this is like the basis of faith. So if you get stuck with the third eye, this is when you're going to have low self-esteem or a lot of overthinking. Or just like you don't, like you said, there is no trust. There's no faith. This is when you want to really do that work. And I caution you because I see a lot of spiritual people just be like, I have to open my third eye, or my third eye is open, but they're a hot freaking mess. And that's usually because if you just work on here and none of these other chakras are aligned, you're gonna be a hot mess because you're just like a fire hose somebody like opened with zero control over it.
Right. It needs to be anchored.
It needs to be anchored. So you definitely, if you're called to do that type of work, please check in with your lower 5 chakras first and make sure that they're aligned, or as aligned as you can get them.
Right.
And then work your way up all those energy centers to here, and then proceed from there. Because we don't want you just like, oh, okay, I just need to open up my third eye and I'll have access to universal wisdom, and then everything will be easy and it'll be fine and I can manifest whatever I want.
Right.
Nah, if you're not, it doesn't work that way.
Right. I mean, if you're, like the example of the hose, like, firemen, the hose that they deal with, if they're not solid and balanced and holding it and like have their bodies in a really balanced place and strong,
And their awareness focused,
that
train
hose
themselves.
will totally like,
Yeah.
dance around them, if you will. But so that's kind of in the same frame, having your other chakras in balance, and then opening up that third eye, then you're able to play around in there and really get to see the different aspects of what you're capable of doing, what you're capable of receiving, the vibrations in which you get to play in. And that's the most exciting part. But if you do it and you're off centered and everything's going to go to shit, and then you're going to ask yourself, why the fuck did I even do that?
Exactly.
Then you need to be 100% solid and balanced with all the other chakras and yourself and who you are, and so that it doesn't shake your world the way you don't need it. So that's a little bit of a warning, because it's great and all to be able to tap into those awesome magical places that we get to play with, but if we don't protect ourselves and our balance and do it respectfully, it's gonna be a fucking shit show, and that's something we don't want.
Right.
We have enough nonsense going on in the world.
Exactly. So a misaligned chakra in this area is where there's a lot of ego at play, because you're basically identifying and functioning as your false self. So you'll be more like a us against them mentality, like it's my boss or me and my spouse, and like it's this negative energy when it comes to you against something else in some sort of situation. Whereas when this chakra is aligned, it's more of a oneness thing. We did a whole podcast on what oneness is and means, and how to step into that, because you're more into a place of we're all energy, we're all one. So if I'm hurting, they're hurting, and vice versa. And if I infuse more love and empathy and kindness into a situation, that's more what's going to come out of it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily completely shift another person's behavior or a situation, because it depends on what everybody's bringing to the table and how it's mixing. But it does shift the situation because you're able to stay in a more balanced, better place. So if you're trusting yourself, if you're trusting the universe, if you are open to new ideas, open to shifting and growing and learning, and not holding a hard line into what you know, because that is totally at the detriment to you. If you're able to shift, that means you have an aligned third eye chakra. I was going to say third, and then I'm like, nope, that's sacral. Sixth chakra, your third eye chakra.
Yeah. I mean, an example that I can give my own personal experience. I never, like, growing up, I didn't know any of this stuff.
Right.
Like, this wasn't.
There weren't labels for what you were experiencing.
No, it was pretty wild. And I remember when I first tapped into my third eye chakra, everything that had happened before that moment became clear for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was seeing things like the vivid colors that came into play, the washing of, like, this cold feeling, like somebody threw cold water at me. That kind of happened. The sound was very, very different from what I'm used to in this very third dimensional space. It was like opening up the window for the first time and taking a really deep breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Like, nothing was the same from that point on. Everything I saw, heard, felt was 100% amplified and different than the way I was experiencing it before from a very third dimensional place. Mm-hmm. The vibrations there are intense. They're the kind of vibrations that if you don't hold on fucking tight, is gonna flip flop your ass all over the place. But I enjoyed how vivid everything got, how clear everything got, how I felt like anything is fucking possible at that point.
That's the magic of the third eye chakra.
And it was amazing. I mean, I've hit it several times since then, but I think now it's more, since it's open, I'm living through it.
You're
all
just
the time,
being in it. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and not like, but noticing the difference when it kind of like the Matrix. You notice when you're in it and when you're not. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of, it's hard to explain. There aren't words for it here versus what you see, what you feel, how you can get when you are tapped into that. Right. It's a beautiful experience, and I highly recommend it to those that can get there. Do it.
And you'll have moments of that where you have like that fax machine noise that comes in, or you just like, you get a tingling sensation, or say you're meditating, you're dancing, you're into music, and you just feel like it's this settling in that happens throughout your whole body.
It really is really, really cool.
It's almost like the chaos of life. They talk about this in transcendental meditation. The chaos of life is on the waves of the ocean, like you're bobbing up and down with the highs and lows of life. And then when you do TM, it sinks you down like you're going down into the deep water where everything's just quiet. Mm-hmm. It's just this, like, I think that's like the cold water thing that you were kind of explaining. That's how it feels to me.
It really is. I mean, the best example for that is, like, you know, people say there's a calm being in the middle of the storm. Mm-hmm. It's kind of in that same thing.
Same vein, yeah.
You know, because like it really gets still and amplified at the same time.
Right.
Is this really cool feeling when your third eye is activated and you're in it. And I love being there personally.
Yeah, and when it's all aligned, it actually stimulates both sides of your brain so that you're thinking and seeing things more clearly, and you're more creative. So when you approach a problem, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I never thought of we could do this and this. And the intellect's like, yeah, and if we take this part of what we used to do and add it to that, like, and everything just suddenly works and shifts. The ease that comes from it is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And so some things that you can do to align. The color is indigo, so you can wear indigo. Indigo, yes. We didn't have indigo, so we wore what we wore. You kind of a little purpley in your heart. You're there. You're just there. The frequency, a good frequency, if you need something to listen to or meditate to, acoustic guitar is actually the exact frequency of, I think that's why I've always loved acoustic guitar. It just puts me in this place. It's the exact frequency of your sixth chakra. So that's a really cool thing. Purple foods. So you could do purple carrots, blueberries, eggplants, like those types of things. And I don't want to just say, because people often like just purple foods, purple drinks. You don't go out and grab a Gatorade and a grape soda. Like that's not, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Healthy things for your body, please.
Essential oils.
Essential oils, patchouli.
Jasmine, lemon, sandalwood is one of the reasons why I love sandalwood so much.
Frankincense, and myrrh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just on vacation and all the amenities and the thing, whole place was sandalwood. And we're like, this awesome. Is good vibes in here. Stones, sapphire is the most common, tanzanite. Those are other things. You can gently, I emphasize gently, tap the third eye area to wake it up. Focus on it in meditation. And just like, I am open, I am receiving, I am connected. Like those are your I am statements around that. Like that's what you want to be. Not that I am a busy minded, monkey brained, trying to figure shit out as I go type of frantic energy. Like this is like a calm inner peace and that deep knowing. So since this is a place of self-evaluation, this is where you want to ask yourself a shitload of questions. Things like, what attitudes that I have are disempowering me? Like that can go in so many different directions. Or what negative patterns keep coming up for me? Like, do I always, when that person has a conversation about fill in the blank of the topic, I start to freak out or I get pissed off or like, and then it triggers that negative attitude or bad behavior. Yeah. Like start looking at those patterns.
This is when being self-aware is so important.
Totally. This is a place of awareness. This is a place of being present. And this is a place when it's misaligned where you're constantly interpreting the meaning behind other people's words and other people's behaviors. And always you'll always think it's like they're judging me. They said hello and they meant that as disrespectful. Yeah. And why did they look at me like that? Like that if you have a lot of those thoughts, this is a chakra you're going to really want to hone into a lot more.
Yeah. And really embrace that I think can't remember his name. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But he says, what you think of me is none of my business. That's where adopting that.
Oh, that's the Four Agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah. Pull that out of the ethers, out of my sixth chakra. Yeah. Yeah, and this is, what are you commonly seeing about yourself that's negative? And then that's where your work lies. Like, how do I work on that? Not how do I beat myself up because of that? Like, use it as information and input to guide your work instead of something to further disempower you and further misalign the sixth chakra. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good basis of it. I mean, this is like really where you're looking at the bigger picture, because a lot of times when you're in struggle, you're in that micro place just looking at the problem, and you can't really see all that is possible without this being open. So if you're in the middle of something that's not feeling good, you can actually, we did a podcast on called, it's about the work, doing the work, and how that happens for you to get out of that struggle type of place.
I think that kind of in the same vein of like a camera lens. The more you zoom in or out, and you want to zoom out so that you can really see the entire picture, because like you said, when you're like this, you can't really see everything that you need to see to be able to make the right choices in your life. So think of it that way. So when you find yourself in a place where you're like, okay, I'm focused on this, and that's all you're seeing, and you got those blinders going, like you're aware. So now zoom out, right, so that you can really see everything that's happening. Because if you don't see the players, you can't change the game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't call it out. It's like like in football, there's always different types of play games. And once you know what's happening, you're good, because you're able to see the entire thing.
Yeah.
So,
and what most people we're seeing do is they're like looking at the problem through that lens, and then they're like, I don't like it, and they're just moving the camera to something else. And that's still there.
Yeah.
So when you look around, it's going to come right back up for you. So yeah.
It's going to play peekaboo.
Yeah. So that zooming in, or you're playing peekaboo with yourself, like really putting your head in the sand.
Oh, absolutely. And that doesn't work for anybody. But
No.
like one of the things that Dallas Michael Sear has been posting a lot about has been about sun gazing. That's also helpful for this stuff that I noticed. And it says that you can do it in the morning, at sunrise and sunset. Those are the best times to do it. And it increases your clarity and it boosts your energy and your spiritual connection.
Nice.
So
perfect
if you're,
to go out and meditate
exactly,
at those
so
times.
you want to meditate, you want to align your chakras, maybe do it during that time, and it really like amplifies and activates all the things.
And notice she said gazing, not staring.
Yeah,
Don't
gazing,
walk out at
gazing.
noon and stare up at the sun and burn holes in your head. Like,
Yeah.
this is everything. Everything about how to approach energy is gentle and feels like accepting and feels good to you.
Right.
If it's sucking, if it's because you're doing the work and going through a hard thing, that's one thing. If it's just hard, like you're making it difficult on yourself, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to stop letting the five senses lead. We're going to use them only as informational. And we are going to start from today on forward practicing and eventually letting the sixth chakra be the leader.
I like that.
All right.
All right. Be kind.
Peace.
Peace.